Hi, this is Karen Fraser, State Senator from the 22nd District, reporting in about a week after the special session ended here in 2012. This was a very difficult session because of the fiscal issues, the ups and downs of the revenue forecasts and the caseload forecasts and the budget decisions that had to be made. While 2012 is normally what we call a short session of 60 days. By the time you add up the couple of special sessions we had, it almost approached the length of a regular session in the biennial budget years. And this is because the revenue and budget issues were so difficult. When we started out last fall, the last revenue forecast of the year indicated that we were probably going to have to cut the state budget by another $2 billion. And that's after already cutting it by about $10 billion during the previous few years. The Great Recession has been very hard, not only on the economy of our state and the people of our state, but also state government and the services that state government as well as local government provides. So last fall we were looking at cutting the budget by $2 billion. We had a special session in the fall and did a quarter of that before Christmas. And the governor proposed a budget with a lot of cuts and proposed a half-cent sales tax increase along with a few other revenue ideas to make up a lot of the difference and also to include a lot of cuts that were very unpalatable. So then when we got into the session, in February, when the next revenue forecast came out and the caseload forecast came out, we had some pretty good news. The revenues had improved somewhat in the state, and some of the caseload forecast was down. So that ultimately meant we could try to rejuggle, reshape the budget without doing a major tax measure such as a half-cent sales tax increase. So that allowed everybody to breathe a bit of a sigh of relief, but that still didn't make our job any easier, because what we're cutting when we're talking about cutting is basic services to people. State government funds mostly K-12 education, higher education, health and social service needs for low-income people and people with special needs. We do a lot of other things too, such as environmental protection and transportation and consumer protection and public safety, but the big budget items are the ones I mentioned. So it's very, very hard to juggle. We tried to find new ways to do things, more cost-effective ways to do things, and we did pass a lot of bills that improve how we provide services, but still in the end you have to cut some of them. So we did do a lot of reforms this session. A lot of them may not make the big headlines, but you can be assured that we passed a lot of bills and made a lot of budget moves that improve how we provide services. In addition to the budget, there were a couple of other areas that I worked on during the session. One is anti-human trafficking. I'm very pleased that our state legislature enacted 12 anti-trafficking bills this session. And I was the lead coordinator for these bills in the Senate, so I was involved a little bit in each of them and trying to make sure that as many got through as we could. And I'm very pleased that Washington, as a result, remains a national leader in being a state government that cares about and is addressing this scourge of human trafficking to try to prevent it, to apprehend those involved, and to try to help people whose lives have been affected and harmed by being caught up as victims in trafficking. We were already a national leader, and now we're even more of a national leader, so I think we can be pleased about that. Another area I spent a lot of time on was public pensions. In my district, in our district, the state capital area, we have state government as the dominant employer, and so people here care about pensions after they've worked the majority of their adult years in state government. It's only reasonable that they have a fair and equitable pension they can live on. Then of course we have a lot of retirees in the area from state government and local government who rely on state pensions. So the biggest, one big bill I worked on, and I'm pleased we got through, was to protect the pension system by making sure that state government pensions are not allowed for private organizations that contract with state government to provide services. There was a big effort to try to do that, and I sponsored a bill in the Senate, and there was a comparable House bill to prevent that from happening, which could financially wipe out the pension system. So that was a very big deal. I also voted against a bill that passed in the waning days of the session that reduced pension benefits for career employees in the future. So this would apply to those who become state employees after July 1 of this year. I think it's a shame to make it harder for longtime employees to retire, and it sort of acts as golden handcuffs to keep people from retiring who might want to retire, and maybe their agency wants them to retire because they're burned out, or maybe their school district wants them to retire. This applies to teachers and school district workers too. Maybe they're starting to have some health problems, or maybe they're not as physically strong as they used to be for a job that requires physical fitness, such as working in a prison and dealing with difficult prisoners. So anyway, I voted no on that. So, but it did pass. So, but I'm very pleased that the 22nd District and the Thurston County area as a whole did well in the jobs package of the legislature, which is in effect the capital budget. But every capital budget project funded amounts to lots of good jobs. So in our area, we're going to have job creation from 3 stormwater projects, one in Lacey, one in Olympia, one in Tumwater. We'll have job creation from a new building for Safe Place that provides help for women, well, and can be men, but usually women who have experienced battering. We will have jobs from a pilot project for housing, which will be implemented by Camp Quixote. They're going to build a series of cabins with a common building for central needs of residents. So that'll be a great pilot project to see if that's a more cost-effective way to provide low-income housing for some people. So there are a lot of good things that came out of the session. There'll be some improvements to the legislative building, which we will appreciate not only for jobs, but also because it's the dominant, iconic building in our area. So there's lots of good things to be happy about. And one special achievement in the budget this year, it was for the first time in several years, we are not cutting K-12 education and higher education. There were some members of the legislature, particularly in the Senate, who wanted to do that, made strong proposals to do that, even got amendments to do that, passing the Senate. But in the end, we fought back, and in the final budget, K-12 and higher education were not cut. So I'm very pleased about that. Speaking of education, I might mention at the beginning, early in the regular session, the state Supreme Court came out with a ruling that the state is way underfunding K-12 education. And we are supposed to achieve by 2018 a plan, and including a financial plan for increasing support for K-12 education. And an estimate is we would have to come up with $3 billion more per biennium to fund this. So this will have to involve our tax structure somehow, because you cannot find that much money in the budget. So we did create a task force to begin looking at what our options might be. So please stay tuned on that. But in the meantime, it continues to be a pleasure and an honor to serve the citizens of our district.